Okay, so what is gain staging and why is it important? Basically, gain staging is important so we don't clip at the end of the line. If all my stems are playing back really hot and I sum them together, the summed bus will be extremely hot and might even clip sometimes.
So, let's say I'm setting up a session and I get a kick that's peaking at -3, a snare at -6, and a bass at -10. When I play them through my master bus, it leaves me with very little headroom and might even clip sometimes. So, I select them all, bring clip gain down so my highest peaking track is around -18 dBFS. If it does peak a bit above that, that's fine too. If there's a track that's really low in level, I usually clip gain it up and lower the fader by the same amount of the clip gain, just to get it out of the lower volume range so it has a higher resolution of bits to work with. If you look at my master now, I've got headroom, meaning there's room above my peaks before we start clipping.
I know that in most DAWs, if your output bus isn't clipping, there's no clipping. So why do we still need to worry about gain staging?
A lot of plugins are based on analog pieces of gear, and analog gear is designed to work best around the 0 dB point of the VU meter. The VU meter is an analog meter. The meter in your DAW displays decibel full scale, where everything above 0 results in clipping. Because the gear is designed this way, the dynamic incoming signal has enough headroom to do its thing and not hit the ceiling of the electronics, and stays free of distortion.
Another thing we need to worry about when gain staging is equal level comparison.
When you EQ or compress something, it changes the level coming out of this plugin or piece of gear. To make sure we get an equal comparison and our mix's leveling remains intact, we adjust the output gain of the device so incoming and outgoing signal are of equal level. This way, the balance set at the start and the end of the mix should be roughly the same, and balancing throughout the mix is only done with the faders. If I apply a broad EQ boost on a track, the level will go up by a few dB. Let's say it's 10 dB louder now. If I route this to my master bus with a compressor on it, the signal would go further over the compressor's threshold and it would compress more. So, we take down the output gain of the EQ to lower the level of the signal after the EQ to the point where it matches the level before the EQ. We can see it was on -17 without the EQ and around -8 with EQ. So we need to compensate for that extra 9 dB. We now have roughly the same amount of compression going on the master bus, and we got the desired EQ curve.
Let's go back to the early days of recording, back to when we had tape machines and a lot of tube gear and everything at a much higher noise floor than more recent gear. This meant everything had to be recorded pretty hard because only then would the signal to noise ratio be at its best. Your signal to noise ratio tells you how much signal versus noise your device has. Let's say, hypothetically, it has a noise floor at -70 dB. If you record at -18 dB, the signal is now 52 dB higher than the noise. If you record at -30 dB with the same noise floor, the signal would be only 40 dB above the noise. The result would be similar to turning up the noise by another 12 dB. In this day and age, we still have a noise floor. Your mic has one, your preamp has one, and even though you can turn it off on most of them, even some plugins do have a noise floor. Having a lower noise floor means we don't have to run extremely hot like the old days, but we still need decent level because we have to deal with our noise floor as well as bit depth. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to drop them in the comments below.